for the lyrics, which, you know, um, give it away now, girl. Give it away, give it away, give it away now. No. That'd be hilarious if we just started doing that.
Yeah,
Um,
whoa. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time of day it is in whatever part of the world you reside. Welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. I am Andy, and that is John, and we are here to do what we always do, which is try and take over the world, or just listen to music more often than not. There you are, John, or Dr. Evil, I should say. So we are going to do some free exchange of music. John, you're going to offer up something for me to go off and check out, and then I'll come back and we're going to discuss it thoroughly, I'm sure. But what do you have on offer today, my friend?
the band that we checked out before after a long period of hiatus, just like them, really. And the band is Slowdive.
Okay, excellent.
Never
Yeah,
played them
we've
before.
done two live performances by them on the channel here. Am I correct in
Yeah,
that? Okay,
Golden
yeah.
Hair and Slow Mo.
Yes.
Golden Hair was at the festival, and Slow Mo was at KEXP.
Yep. So, yeah, I've really enjoyed what I've heard from them thus far, and I'm eager to hear more. So, the track today that we'll be listening to?
So the track is Star Roving. Um, Now they did a version of it on the same session of KXP as Slow Mo that you listened to before. I actually just there's not a lot in it, but I prefer the studio version to the live one.
Okay.
I think you probably get more out of it. So that's what you got.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to hearing it. So, let's cut right to the chase and go do that. I'll go give it a listen and come back and let you know what I've made of it. Already a lot of reverb and chorus soaked guitar action here in the opening bit of this track, and I love both those sounds in my guitar, so have at it, fellas. I would like to think that my feelings about the music is not being influenced by the video, but there's something about this song that conveys this feeling of of big, grand, and important things. I don't know. I don't, pardon the pun here as we look up at sites about space travel, but there's some gravity to this that there may be lacking in outer space, but there is gravity to the feeling I get from just how grand this sound is. This is interesting lyrical content. Well, what small fraction of it I'm able to catch is some really interesting content. It sounds like anyway. There's something about this feel there at the end. She's talking about sort of like flying a kite and this feeling of feeling good and feeling love for everyone, and all of that just reminds me of like drug use, like the idea of flying a kite, just like maybe a euphemism for being under the influence of some drug and then feeling this warmth of love for everyone and just feeling good in general. Obviously, that's a fleeting feeling. The come down is always so much more awful than the being in the throes of actually being under the influence and that euphoric feeling. The come down is always, uh, you know, twice as rough as the euphoric feeling of being on the drug, or at least that's my understanding. So this is interesting. I wonder if this idea of, I mean, all these visuals about space, and even this idea of kind of that he's outlining for her, this being weightless or flying about like a kite, speaks to metaphorically as being under the influence of some sort of drug. There is this vastness to the sound where you feel like you're just in open sky and you're like untethered to the earth. And with this feeling of being untethered, there's this sort of duality, right, where you feel like amazing and above it all, but you also feel like you have no agency or control over the situation. um I might be grasping at straws here. It's super early days, and there could be a lot of really important lyrical content that I'm not catching. But from the bits I am trying to really, pin down what it might be about, this is sort of where I'm landing. And if that is true, this feeling that they're creating musically of this wide open space and kind of not having control and towing the line between the joy of that feeling and the fear of having no control, then I think they're kind of killing it, because that's the vibe I'm getting, and I think it's really well illustrated here, if I am correct. I like this. There's a heartbeat. There's all this whirring kind of going on behind the guitars. I'm not sure what it's coming from, if it's actually generated by the guitars going on here, if there's another instrument providing that, but it just adds another layer and it creates this wall, and it all feels really big, just really, really big. I don't. There's really no other way to describe it, and it feels like it's almost like encroaching on you as it gets like thicker, and the music is more dense. I love this valve vocalization. It adds this like human fragility to the song. Like that for me, that's how I infer it, or what's conveyed is like this. Um, maybe this idea of like space, that humans are just such little tiny specks within specks of this huge, vast, just much larger picture, and those fragile little oohs kind of illustrate that in a weird way. And that's the feeling that I get when I listen to this. This is wildly evocative in more ways than one. Emotionally, physically, like it takes me places and paints pictures, and which is a whole nother kind of like sort of feeling that it conjures outside of the ones that are more tethered to emotion. So it's a lot to kind of address and kind of parse through in your head as you're listening to it in just one go. So I'm trying to capture all of this. There's going to be some serious note taking when this is done, because there's a lot going on and I'm feeling a lot listening to this. Yeah, that was one hell of a listen. This band is becoming more and more one of my favorites that John has offered up to me, and I really want to listen to this again as well as more by them. Yeah, I mentioned a moment ago how evocative this track uh, was to listen to, and is. It's still, I'm still fresh off listening to it. Still, it still resides in me, these feelings. But there is this physical feeling of being like in a vast, like afloat, right, in this sort of like sea of nothingness. Um, so physically, that's kind of where I'm at, and I don't know if this is about being on drugs, but I can understand how that feeling would be in line with what one might feel whilst on drugs or in the throes of addiction. Emotionally, there is this feeling of like masked melancholia, right? Like there's something behind the eyes, this resigned sadness to something insurmountable. And that is another feeling that I get. So these are, both of them are very powerful feelings. And I think that for an artist or a band to be able to conjure those kind of feelings in a song is, you know, a great exhibition in their talents. This is really, in a way, kind of moving to listen to. I don't want to, I don't want to throw myself too much into this thing because I don't know if I'm right, but if it's interesting that one listen can conjure all these kind of feelings and thoughts about the song, and I'd love to know if I'm, how far away from the mark I am or how close to it I might be. But nonetheless, that I don't think, even if John turns all this supposition on its head, I don't think that's going to take away from this really, the feeling I got from listening to this for the first time. And I will really enjoy revisiting this one again with added context. In fact, I think that there's a good chance that with added context and information about this, I'm going to come back and this is going to resonate even more with me. Um, but to be fair, this is a really great first listen to a wildly interesting song that is really a stirring track, at least for me. I don't want, this may not have landed with some of you out there, and that's perfectly fine. But I'm glad that it did with me. So obviously, I've got questions and interest that has been piqued. And if there's anybody that's going to help me square this circle, it'll be my man John. So let's head back to him.
Benny Hawkins, he's back. So you've had listened to Star Roving by Slowdive. Please tell all.
I will do just that. Right out of the gate, we are met with this chorus and reverb soaked guitar that assertively lets its presence be felt as it stands alone but resolute in the opening 20 odd seconds of the track. And then with a strike of a cymbal, the drums join in with a proper beat at the 27-second mark. And I would like to think my thoughts on the music are not influenced by the visuals of the video, but the music conveys this feeling that is big and grand and important. Um, just as we approach the 1 minute mark, vocals are injected into the track in the form of this spacey, almost detached voice that sings, "Give it away now, girl." And despite those opening words being the same, this is clearly not Anthony Kiedis and company. Uh, as the verse continues, I find it harder and harder to make out the lyrical content because of all of this sound. Things are becoming kind of washed as the music and vocals almost blend and bleed into this swirling tide of sound, as we often get with space rock, shoegaze, whatever you want to label this as. It is that like just primordial puddle of just sound. So you have to like kind of cipher through it and figure out what is what, and it's not an easy task, especially on one listen. Go ahead, John.
So for this, I got the lyrics. And even after checking the lyrics while playing the song at the same time, I'm still not certain of what it says. I mean, it's almost, by the by, really.
Great. Well,
But it's
I was just going to say in a
yeah.
way that validates what I just said, but it also gives me fear or trepidation about my further attempts to decipher future lyrics in this song. So maybe I'll be right, maybe I'll be wrong. It also kind of puts a spanner in my interpretation, which I have one for this track, but it could be wildly off. Just, if in case I interpreted lyrics incorrectly, then I could be on a whole tangent that's truly not applicable to what they were trying to present here in the form of the song. But nonetheless, I'm loving what I'm hearing, even if it's hard to decipher bits and pieces. He mentioned something about how he can't look or hold down tonight. And even then, I'm giving options because I don't know which of the two words he said. And that every black and white circle or secret is a blinking light. So clearly, I'm not the most confident in my ability to discern exact words throughout this verse, but it is pleasant to the ears nonetheless. He also mentioned something about someone flying a kite and loving everyone tonight. And that made me think of drug use. Like being high as a kite, which would then propagate that feeling of love for everyone, and just feeling good. And there's something spatially wide open about this song, especially when the vocalist cuts out. Again, I would like to think I would infer this without the literal imagery of space exploration being depicted on the video. It's just that the music conveys a feeling of kind of being surrounded by sky or just vastness. It creates this interesting blend of euphoria and a lack of agency. So it's much like drug use. This idea that you've reached this high and it's kind of like, untethered joy, but also with being untethered comes this idea that you have no control over a situation. So it's an interesting dynamic between those two feelings, and for whatever reason, I'm feeling that a lot into this song. And again, I'm doing a shit job of catching lyrics in the next stanza, but I think he mentions a beautiful smile and twisting around a girl before he dismounts by singing, "Nothing left to lose, nothing left to fight." And while that doesn't amount to a whole lot of exposition, there is something sad and evocative about those last two lines, if I heard them correctly. It feels like giving up or giving in to something you feel is bigger or stronger than self. And then around the 240 mark, the drums cut out completely, leaving resonance and whirring in the wake, as well as the breathy, airy ooh valve vocalization that kind of occupies their absence. And there's, to me, when I hear that valve vocalization in sort of the pitch that it's in, it reminds me of human fragility, and how fragile or fleeting moments in life or life in general can be. And then by the 324 mark, after this particularly spacey portion of the track, the drums return with some swift movement as the guitar chops away on the chord progression, and the driving bass kind of fills out the soundscape. Again, this feels big. Um, the final verse sounds very similar, if not the same, as the first one, and it ends. The guitars like slightly rein themselves in, and the song approaches the 450 mark, and then this sort of allows the resonant key or synth notes to occupy the space, and gently kind of brings everything back to earth abruptly, but gently before things cut off. So I just want to acknowledge that these guys are becoming a contender for one of these, new bands, new to me bands that you've offered up, and they're amongst my favorites that you've given me, at least of late, given how long we've been doing the channel. So yeah, I really do love their sound. I thought this was a wildly evocative song that conjured in me both physical, you know, it conjured a physical state as well as an emotional one. Physically, I felt afloat in a vast sea of nothingness, while emotionally, I felt the pool of like masked melancholia, like sorrow behind smiling eyes that aren't doing quite enough to hide the hurt, but with an added sense of resignation to it all. Um, and those two things coupled together are moving. They're really quite moving, actually. So this feels like one of those songs that I really enjoyed upon first listen, that I will then go on to enjoy and appreciate even more with added context and information. So, John, provide that for me, please, because I am jonesing to love this song as much as I think I do right now.
Okay, thanks for that, Andy. Yeah, I think I said this previously. So, full disclosure, this is from the same album as Slow Mo. We really covered a lot about that in the previous episode. So, there's not a lot much more to say, just particularly about this song. So, this will be fairly short, me rambling away. But I will say that this album, I think I said in the last episode, is just a hell of a return to form after a 22-year gap. Um, And the album itself, I really rank very highly. Um, and there are, we just double check if I don't steer you wrong. There are 8 songs, and I'd say there are at least 5 that are stellar. I
Mm.
mean, really good. This one probably just edging it as my favorite, but there are another 3 which are pretty close. Um, it's just such good quality, and it is evocative. It has that gut feeling as well as a cerebral response to this.
Hmm.
So yeah, same album, produced out, self-titled, from 2017. It's for a triumphant return after 22-year sojourn.
Hmm.
So the personnel. Neil Halstead, vocals, guitar, keyboard. This for the whole album. Editing and production, and he is the main songwriter as well. Rachel Goswell, vocals, and she also does keyboards as well, actually. Christian Saville, guitars, Nick Chaplin, bass guitar, Simon Scott, drums, and also guitar and electronics. So this track, Star Roving, was the first single released in January 2017 and preceded the album by 2 months. So it was almost not just a single, but a single out of 22 years. It was a declaration, we're back. Hence the euphoria. So there's a little write-up here. Star Roving is a triumphant high-velocity masterpiece that stands as one of the greatest comeback singles in alternative rock history. Rather than simply recycling their 1990s glory, the band updated their sound with a stunning display of power, clarity, and modern production. Clarity in the music, I guess.
Yes, yes, yes.
Um, Unlike the slow, hypnotic drift of their classic 1993 album, Suvaki, Star Roving moves at a furious driving pace. Christian Saville and Neil Halstead unleash a massive interlocking wall of sound. It features layers of guitars drenched in heavy reverb, chorus pedals, and fuzzed out bass. Simon Scott's aggressive, splashy drumming provides a propulsive, kinetic energy that pushes the track forward without losing its dream pop texture. The signature dual vocals of Neil Halstead and Rachel Goswell sit comfortably buried in the mix.
Mhm.
They act more like a melodic instrument, adding a sleepy-eyed, celestial atmosphere to the roaring instrumentation.
John, you mentioned two singers on this track. Now, is one doing the bulk of the work and the other doing that vowel vocal? Is that ooh? Okay.
The female's mostly doing it.
Yeah, yeah. That makes
Another
sense.
song, she comes in as almost like a harmony or backing singer.
Hmm.
She does take the lead sometimes, but yeah. Star Roving succeeds because it feels both nostalgic and fiercely forward-looking. It provides an icy, rushing wave of sound that remains an essential highlight of modern shoegaze. Yeah, and I picked this video because it's a fan-made video, but there's a nostalgic because a lot of the footage is actually cosmonauts rather than astronauts. So a lot
Yeah.
of it's Russian, but there's this lovely nostalgic feel to it, and this idea of almost expectation or hope that they're going off with what we would consider now very primitive technological backup here. These guys launching out of our planet,
Yeah.
um, with a computing power, a fraction of what we have on our phones or on our wrists. And it's amazing, really, and the real sort of brave leap forward. And that kind of conveys it in the music as well, the way they're sort of, launching themselves back into um, the modern sort of, scene again.
Hmm.
So yeah, I just thought it was a really charming video and just interesting as well. But it fit the music superbly. So hats off to whoever made that.
Yeah, it
Um,
does.
Back to the thing, Pitchfork. Awarded it high praise, noting the track cleverly distills elements of their prior selves to summon their quotes ghosts into the present without feeling lazy. The Guardian described the song's energy as anthemic and victorious, perfectly bridging the gap between old fan expectations and modern capability. And same sort of stuff read for here. And Stereo Gum highlighted the grand sweeping guitar structures that effortlessly recalled the band's prime. And the lyrics, which, you know, um, give it away now, girl. Give it away, give it away, give it away now. No. That'd be hilarious if we just started doing that.
Whoa.
Can't hold down tonight. Every black and white secrets a blinking light. Emma flies a kite, said she's feeling love for everyone tonight. Although possible, she said she's feeling good. Said she's feeling good.
Mhm.
Smiling beautiful, she says I make it best for everyone to hide. Twisting round my girl, nothing to lose, nothing left to fight. Ooh, 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 ooh. Give it away now, girl. Can't hold on to mine. Every black and white secrets seeking light. In a flash of time, said she's feeling love for everyone tonight. Smiling beautiful. She says I make it best for everyone tonight. Ooh. So the song is fundamentally about rebirth, self-discovery, and reignition. It plays a dual role in this narration and the band itself, how they found themselves. The song acts as an anthem of creative awakening following a long hiatus. The song's title and theme are partly inspired by Jack London's 1915 novel, The Star Rover. Just as the book's protagonist explores the universe through astral projection and past lives, the song uses celestial metaphors for deep internal journeys of the mind and spirit. Musically and lyrically, the song celebrates a sense of wonder and human connection. The lyrics describe a person overflowing with love and the desire to spread that warmth to the world, reflecting the desire to move forward rather than dwell in the past. Yeah, it's interesting. I think you've got to remember that although your sort of point about drug use is probably relevant or justified, these are now middle-aged people coming back into it, and it's dopamine that's the drug they're probably talking about rather than dirty old smack or whatever.
Yeah. And to be fair, it could, even if it had been about drugs, it doesn't necessarily mean it's about their experience with it. Maybe it's about someone that they know. It could be, a family member or some other loved one or friend or something like that, and her experience with it and inability to break the chain or whatever. It's clearly not what it's about. It's more almost like a biopic in the sense that it's about them and their this sort of phoenix moment that they're having where they're rising up from this 22-year dormancy or whatever it was to come back around and create music again. But if it wasn't, I don't think someone would be wildly off base looking at a name like Star Roving, which could be a euphemism for being high, and Flying a Kite, which could be a euphemism for being high, and this sort of this idea that she's feeling good and all of this stuff. It just felt like that could have been the case. Obviously it's not, but it's interesting that it isn't, and yet I could see how people would think that it would be.
No, I think it really is that,
Well,
but it's getting that through natural
yeah,
rather
like you
than
said, it's this
artificial.
sort of endorphins or dopamines that are firing off as a result of picking up their instruments again and getting
Yes,
together and creating
perhaps
music.
we've forgotten all about that.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, the title Star Roving or Wandering Through the Stars serves as a symbolic reflection of the band's journey. It represents a confident re-emergence into the music world after more than 2 decades, blending their classic 90s shoegaze sound with the modern driving energy. So in quotes from Neil Hellstad, when the band decided to get together in 2014, we really wanted to make new music. It's taken us a whole load of shows and a few false starts to get to that point, but it's with pride and a certain trepidation we unleash Star Roving. It's a part of a bunch of new tracks we've been working on, and it feels as fun and as relevant playing now together now as it did when we first started. We hope folks enjoy it. So that's kind of the optimism that they
Hmm.
were feeling, which I think conveys it in the music as well. And there's a nice little thing from Atwood music, which some of that previous stuff was taken from as well, saying it's nostalgic but modern, simple but complex. Star Roving invites you to paint a picture of complacent beauty, perception through a deeper consciousness. Slowdive has always created songs with lyrics expressing empathy, hidden pain, and spacey connections that resonate with a listener, as it's equally unified with dreamy, beautiful melodic vocals and instrumentation. Thus, Star Roving is as symbolic for the introductory re-emergence of Slowdive. Their ambitious journey has yet to wane despite fleeting time, and with that in mind, we utterly embrace it. Um, Yes, this is just quality. It really is, and there is something. It's got that extra little factor about it, which I can't nail down. That just makes you feel good listening to it. It's got it, whatever it
Yeah,
is. It's got
yeah.
it.
I can't. I couldn't help but I thought about this too as I was listening to it. That you know how I've given you tracks and you've been like, oh, this sounds like like an American take on this sound, or this feels like an English version or take on some of the stuff that I've heard from Failure and Hum in this space rock vast open. The only thing that's different, it's got a little bit of less of that American, what do you call it, muscularity, like the chugging and a little bit of that. It's the edge is perhaps taken a bit off for the sake of focusing on other really redeemable sounds and effects that are used here. But at the same time, at the core of both of the sounds I'm talking about here is this sort of large, big sound. It evokes space for whatever reason, which is why it sort of gets that subgenre designation of space rock. Even if the lyrics don't necessarily have to be about that, though in this case it is, and in songs like "The Pod" by Hum, we get that. So it's just interesting that I had a similar experience that you've had in the past, where you're correlating sort of an English version of a kind of subgenre that I'm in my case more familiar with on the American side of things, but it's there to be observed for sure.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Now you've pointed it out, and I will say, yeah, you're right. I would say the what I've heard from you for of Hum, something like that, or Failure or whatever,
Mhm.
is more muscular, and this is more slightly more delicate and without throwing shade, slightly more melodic
Yeah.
structure.
Yeah, that's fine. And you could argue that the others are at times more rhythmic, and it all depends on what poison you're in for, or into. But you're absolutely. I think there are similarities there, while also clear distinctions between the two as well. But yeah, that's what came to mind about two-thirds of the way through this, was that tinkering with sound and space that both of those bands do, or all three, if we're counting Hum and Failure in this case.
Yeah, I think I'll give you some earlier slow dive, which again has a slightly different approach to atmospherics, but still is just as effective. It's just the and they are the well, them and My Bloody Valentine would be the epitome of that first iteration of shoegaze.
Hmm.
There'd be the two bands that you would think of immediately.
Great,
And
yeah,
rightly so as well. So yeah, I'll give you some more stuff on that. But this is goes away from that first iteration of shoegaze and it's more into this dream poppy mishmash, but it's
okay,
there. Um, so yeah, but yeah, well worth listening to. This album is absolutely great. It's a real humdinger.
yeah.
Some people might even call it a Bobby Dazzler.
I was waiting for old Bob to make an appearance there. Excellent. Yeah. That's awesome. Well,
Cool.
I mean, it probably comes as no surprise to you that, given what I preface my, notes with, is these guys are definitely climbing up the chart as far as, bands that you have given me that are really striking my fancy, or tickling it. So, yeah, I would Jones to hear some more of their stuff. Whether it's earlier or more of this after they, reunited or whatever.
The album after this is really cool as well, actually.
How many more have they done since this album? Their kind
Ooh,
of knocking the dust off album that came out.
it's let me see, just for a day. So, everything is alive. I think it's the next one. Yeah, 2023. Yeah.
Okay.
done anything since then? Oh, they might have done, but I don't think so. Without checking up, looking it up. But yeah. Um, oh, look at this. I went to pick something out. And look what I picked out. But anyway, smash. You know, it's so funny. I'm going to pick the stuff up and I'm next to it was Smashing Pumpkins. But this is the this is the album after it.
Okay, great, great.
It's again, it's more of a distillation of their sound. Um, but honestly, yeah, this is the kiddie. And other stuff, earlier stuff as well. Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, um, I will give some more. I should wrap things up. Thanks
All
for
right.
listening, Sandy. I'm
Thank
really
you.
pleased that you appreciated it.
Yeah.
And yeah, folks out there, please tell us what you think. Hit the like button if you like this, no matter if nobody else, you'll know you did it. And you know that you didn't as well. But drop some comments. We'd love to hear from you. See what you think of this and how it compares to their earlier sound and which is preferential. I love that old shoegaze stuff, but I genuinely think this album is probably their best stuff. It's just my opinion. But yeah, drop some comments. We'd love to hear what you think. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. We really appreciate everybody who does help support the channel. By subscribing, you do just that. It shoves all our numbers in the right directions, and Evil Core can push our tawdry filth and other unsuspecting people. So you'll be helping doing that. Collaborators, I think we used to call them. That being said, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see all of you on the next episode of the Audiophiles.
We'll see you later, guys.